What's going on, friends, followers, public viewers? McFarland here in the studio. Things are finally starting to get hot. And there's a hodgepodge, meaning a whole bunch of different stuff together, a hodgepodge of fishing techniques that you can use on fork right now. And I'm about ready to tell you that. I'm going to give you a little public report for everybody, okay? So first, let's say about the leg levels. 402.18 yesterday, 402.23 today. Remember that the 0.25 is 3 inches, okay? So realistically, overnight, we came up about an inch. We had enough rain last night to come up an inch. That's what the red arrow is for. The lake's on the rise. Remember, rising water always brings fish up and in, especially if it's cooler water. Anytime, really. Just rising water rises the fish. 0 to 1 clarity and 76 to 82 degrees. We are 1 week away, basically, from the Skeeter event. And generally, the Skeeter event is much hotter than we are now. Normally, we're in the 80s, 83, 84 to 87 degrees on a daily basis. Remember, this is the morning time, and this is the main body. This is not back arms, back of the creeks. You will find some variation depending on where you are. In the main body, at 6 a.m. this morning, it was 76 degrees. And at the end of the day, when I pulled off around 3 o'clock, it was 82 degrees. That's the subsurface now. That's just the first 18 inches. We're cooler than normal by about 6 degrees, somewhere in that range, okay? In fact, yesterday morning, there was fog coming off my 3-acre pond, like happens in March, April, and May, or even February when we warm trend and then cool trend. Fog rising off my pond yesterday because it was chilly in the morning, and that meant that the pond was cooling, losing temperatures. It's not a bad thing. It's not normal for this time of year. It's still suppression of pushing those fish offshore, and that's why there's a hodgepodge of ways you can catch fish right now. There's still, what I'm getting at, there's a lot of fish shallow, and we keep having cool nights, those fish are going to stay shallow. The shallow backwaters get hot, too hot, mid-80s, and those fish funnel back out to the deep water, and we have a better offshore bite. There are fish offshore. There are fish in 20 feet of water, there are fish in 12 feet of water, and there are fish in the backwaters all over the place. In shallow water, 4, 5, 6 feet or less. If you're fishing shallow, you're really best to use, use topwaters and frogs. Poppers and frogs are probably your best bets. Weightless flukes, weightless Sinkos, and wacky words are your secondary baits. And stay with it less than 6 feet. In the backs of the coves, the backs of the pockets, anywhere you can see flickering bait, secondary points, channel swings, things like that. Shallow water next to deep water, because once the sun comes up, some of those fish want to pull out of that and go into a little bit deeper water, or to the creek lines and the tree lines or creek swings. So if you got a nice secondary point with a creek swing, you might catch them early on the secondary point, real shallow, and then by 10, 11, 12 o'clock, they're pulled out into the creek swing a little bit deeper in 10 to 12 feet of water. Okay, so there's really a hodgepodge. The offshore bite, the same thing. There are some deep fish. The best 2 ways that I know to catch the offshore fish right now would be flutter spoons and crankbaits. On Lake Fork, you're going to give a lot of that to the wood and the trees. The flutter spoons tend to shake free from the trees. So if you're real patient with them, when you do get hung up and you keep shaking them, they will usually bust free from the trees. Crankbaits like 6XDs, 8XDs, and 10XDs, you're probably going to get them stuck in the trees, and the lake's going to take those from you. So plan on spending a little bit of money on it. But main lake points, long points, points that have roads, points that have tree lines, points that have trees, heavy trees, anywhere from 12 to 22 feet of water. The cranking and the spoons is probably your most active bite. I'm seeing fish schooled up. I'm seeing fish chasing bait, chasing shad, chasing gizzard shad, chasing brim. That bite is there if you'll explore it. Typically, we have a really good brim spawn that happens right now this time of year. It's weird. The cool trends, just like they did to the bass in March and April, the bass would move into the beds and the cool trends would kick them out. The brim want to spawn at 78 and above. And when the cool nights come, it kicks them out and they move back. And so, like this morning, I side scanned a bunch of brim beds, shallow. There was nothing in them. Later in the day, as the water gets back to warm, they move back up into the brim beds. So we're still having Texas two-step, I call it. We had March with it. Bass would move in the afternoons, the night get cold, and push them off the beds. The afternoons warm up, they move back in, the night gets cold, push them off the beds. We're kind of having the same thing with the brim spawn. The reason I'm bringing the brim spawn is once the brim really lock to the nests, you can pretty much be sure that the bass are right there hunting them. There's at least a certain amount of bass that love to have bass revenge. And you can count on some really big bass that will be hanging in the areas around those brim beds and trying to raid those brim beds when they feel ready. That's a bite there where you could have a 4 to 6 foot brim bed where you might use a Texas rig plum worm. You may use a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a square bill. All of those baits right there can be effective on brim beds. Even atop water in the right area on brim beds can be really good if it's a shallow flat and there's a lot of brim in that area. 4 to 6 foot, maybe 8 foot at the most depth, deepest. Remember, 8 feet is nothing. 8 feet from here to my ceiling. This is 8 foot ceilings that I have in here. And a bass can easily explode on the top water from 8 foot, no problem. So think brim color if you're definitely chasing the brim spawn. Other than that, for the bass, that's the best report I've got. I'm going to start fattening this up a little bit and give you guys a few other things. I know most of you that do follow are bass fishermen and you want the bass reports. But I'm hoping to build some more on this channel. We've finally reached 4,000. Thank you guys. And I really want to grow even more. So I'm going to talk about crappie. The crappie actually right now are doing very well. They're on the bridge pylons. The crappie are in 18 to 26 feet of water, 28 feet of water on brush piles and submerged trees. They are post-spawn, very post-spawn, so hand-tied jigs and hand-tied jigs with minnows. Black and chartreuse tend to be the best colors going right now. But you can definitely catch some crappie on fork, and if you're not into the bass fishing, or you just want to take a break from bass fishing, or you just want to fill your cooler with some really good eating fish. The crappie are really, really good, and they're pretty much abundant in fork. Bridge pylons in about 12 to 16 feet of water, great place to go take a break in the shade and kick back. And again, light line, 6-pound test. A minnow's hard to beat, but the hand-tied jigs really seem to be all you need. Hand-tied jig, a little crappie nugget, a little crappie candy on it, and you can really clean up. That you're going to want to use your live scope for. Potentially, it's going to make it better fishing if you have live scope. If not, again, down scan will get you, down scan, side scan will get you in the right areas on some of those fish. But I'm definitely seeing lots of crappie on the bridge pylons. And about 12 o'clock, sometimes that's calling me for some shade, just a nice cool chance to cool off, refresh, and still be fishing, still catching fish. Take a break from the bass fishing. All right, catfish. If you like catfish, fork is just jam-packed with catfish. All you got to do on fork, if you want to fill your freezer with catfish on fork, all you have to do is go to the feed store, the horse cattle feed store, and get some sour maize. Go to a creek swing in about 16 to 20 feet of water and pour that sour maize in that area. It'll sink to the bottom. You'll eat about 4 or 5 pounds. And come back within a few hours. Use stink bait, night crawlers, liver, whatever you choose, whatever's your fancy. And I'm telling you, this 25 per person limit, you can put 100 catfish in your boat in an hour with 4 fishermen. Anywhere you choose, if you put that sour maize out like that. It's unbelievable how overrun Lake Fork is with those channel catfish. But they're really good to eat. They're really delicious. In fact, I had a client that brought his friend, and his friend said, I'm not a bass fisherman. I refuse to bass fish. I brought my own rod. I brought my own stuff, and I'm going to catfish behind the boat. I hope you don't mind. And I thought, well, I'm not going to configure to catfishing. I'm not going catfishing. We're going bass fishing. Your buddy's paying me to take him bass fishing, but you're welcome to do what you want from behind the boat. And he almost filled his limit everywhere that we went bass fishing. All he did was throw night crawlers out. Didn't chum the waters or nothing. Just drug a night crawler behind the boat and literally almost filled 25 catfish by the end of the day. It was crazy. It was just crazy. I didn't like those slimy things on my carpet in my $100,000 Skeeter bass boat because it ruins your carpet. You get slime on the carpet and it's really bad. So if you have carpet, try not to get catfish slime on your carpet. One last thing, I'm going to let you guys go. I brought this topic up to my members only channel. I wanted to see the response from my members before I decided whether or not I'd bring it to the public. And it's a pretty important topic, and it's life vests, PFDs, okay, personal flotation device. Do you wear it or do you not wear it? I see a lot of people on the lake not wearing it. First of all, it's the law to be clicked into your kill switch. It is a law. You will get a ticket if you're not clicked into your kill switch. But I'm very gently, and I will not say names, but I'm very gently going to say this, boldly but gently. I see a lot of guides, and I mean a lot of guides, that launch their boat and then take off, and no one's wearing life vests. My question to you as the public, my question to you is, should there be more laws on that? Do you think as a client that you deserve the respect that your guide should be caring about your life enough to offer you a life vest or tell you you should be wearing this? Or does he want your money so bad that he really doesn't care? Bold but gentle. I will never ever take anybody fishing in my boat without wearing a life vest, especially on a lake like Lake Fork. On the West Coast, there are rules for that. You have to be CPA trained. You have to be lifeguard certified. California and stuff, you have to have a captain's license, that you take a test. You know all the fish species. You know all the buoy signs. You know the rules. In Texas, you just go buy a guide license at Walmart. Again, I'm not trying to start fires, but I am going to bring this to the public attention because I know that there's also a lot of guides that watch my stuff. There's a lot of guides that don't like me because I share so much stuff. And this is for you guys. If you're not putting your life vest on your people, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? That's the bold part, not the gentle part. So, life vest or no life vest, you tell me what you think in the comments below. And tell me what you think about if you showed up on a guide trip in your life and your guide never offered a life vest to you. Do you really not care about your own life? God forbid you end up in the water. You will desperately wish you had it. Trust me. All right. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you watching. Appreciate your following, your subscription. Think about being a member. Members get a lot more information than you guys. They get a lot more details. They get the real juice. I give them locations. I give them how-tos. I give them steps, angles of the boat, positioning. I just give them the juice. It's $4.99 a month to become a member. Look in the description below and click on the description below. Follow the procedures and join. Nothing to it. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. You spend more money on your lures, fishing line, and gasoline to run around the lake. Hey, some better information could be good and valuable to you, especially with events coming up like Skeeter, Big Bass Splash, Berkeley. Those things can be really critical and pay you your $5 back real fast. So here's your invite to come over and be a member only of McFarland's Corner, McFarland's Fishing Reports, the rundowns. Other than that, like button, comment button. Wish y'all great fishing. Hope you're wearing your PFDs. God bless you, and take care. I'll talk to you on Thursday.